promote their business and really a sense of community. And the Howe Area Chamber of Commerce has really been able to do that over the past year by hosting events like this one and to bring awareness of our town and businesses. Really over the past year we've had really good success in growing the chamber, and we've actually got over 60 active members from the town of Howe and surrounding communities. So that's, in my opinion, great for a chamber who's only 3 years old. With that being said, we do plan to keep growing. So I encourage everybody here tonight, if you know anybody or businesses that aren't actually a part of the chamber yet, we do encourage everybody to sign up and just to see the benefit of what we can offer. And a little announcement, what we're going to be doing, we're going to do a little restructuring over this next year. We're going to try to get a subcommittee system going where the subcommittees can plan certain events and gatherings and whatnot to really get a better feel of what we need. So if anybody's interested in joining the subcommittee, let any of us know, and we'd be happy to help you out. I'll keep this short, but thanks again, everybody, for making out tonight to celebrate this wonderful community and its citizens.
As Robert said, the chamber is growing, and as an economic developer, the town is growing too. We've seen a number of new businesses in town this past year, and they are being recognized tonight. And we thank them for choosing Howe. And we are trying to be as business friendly as we can here. Just want to be inviting and welcoming to all the new businesses that come in, because as we all know, North Texas is changing. We're in a hotbed, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be different around here over the next 10 years. It's going to be a lot of fun. So at this point, what the Economic Development Corporation would like to do is recognize some of the long-standing organizations in town and some of the long-standing businesses in town. It's kind of the first time we've done this, but it's a way to say thank you for your business here in Howe for such a long time and your organization's time. So let's start. I'm not sure, we do have from the Howe Fire Department, the Fire Chief, Robert Benet. Come on up here. I believe the fire department has been around in Howe since 1951. Our police chief, Carl Hudman, was here. He's still here. We'd like to recognize the Howe Police Department for their long-standing duty to protecting our citizens and our community. I'm not sure anyone, of course I didn't get to see everybody, but is anyone here from the Church of Christ? I don't think, but we want to recognize the Church of Christ. If you want to take this one here, you can have it. The Church of Christ. The First United Methodist Church. Oh, Pastor Landis is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
And Jonathan was going to be here from the First Baptist Church, but his grandfather passed away. He's also a board member, so he was not able to be here tonight. But we want to recognize the First Baptist Church of Howe. And we're going to recognize the Howe Independent School District as well, but they have so many things going on tonight, and we could probably all take a certificate from them. And I do want to recognize the longest organization, probably since Summit, the post office. And we have Postmaster Leander Beckman. She's got something to say.
Well, he said we could talk. I did want to say that it is such an honor to be the postmaster of Howe. I am the 22nd postmaster in Howe. Howe has had a post office presence since 1873. Frank Root was the very first postmaster. So for 144 years, there has been a post office here in Howe, and I hope it continues many more years. Just a little piece of trivia. The postmaster that has served the longest to date was Mr. Davis. And I'm sure many of you remember Mr. Davis. He served for 18 years as the postmaster here in Howe. And I am the third female. So there were some progressive times way back in 1886. Generally, it's the wife of the postmaster who passed away. So nobody had to pass away for me. I'm glad I still have the husband here. I do want to say that I think the single greatest thing that we do as a post office, it is the largest one-day food drive in the nation. And that's coming up on Mother's Day weekend. It's called the Letter Carriers Food Drive, and you should have all gotten postcards if you live here in Howe. You've gotten a postcard in your P.O. box or out at your delivery area, and if you didn't, let me know. Something I need to know about. It is all the food that's collected will go to Feed My Sheep. It all stays right here in Howe. So if you've got some extra things in the pantry, we do have a box out at the post office, or you can leave it at your mailbox and your letter carrier will pick it up. Thank you.
Now we'll move into the businesses. And I'm not sure if Kathleen Todd is here or not, but we wanted to recognize the School Zone Academy. They've been here for over 30 years now, since 1985, the School Zone Academy. Not sure the Carsons are here, but I don't think they are. Southwest Auction has been here since 1983, actually a little bit further back than that, but that's when the Carsons took over. So Southwest Auction in 1983. We really want to thank MagnaFab. They got here in 1971. They employ a lot of our folks, and they're our second largest employer other than the school district, and we really want to say thanks to MagnaFab and appreciate them. I'm not sure also, in 1970, there was a little hotbed of activity at that time. Baker Heating and Air came on board at that time. 1969, I know he's in the crowd. Back in the day, they started a television shop on Highway 5 back over here in what is now Baker's Air Conditioning Place. And then Mr. Hawkins built a building out on Highway 75. Hughes TV started in 1969. Thank you. Thank you. This next business actually started in Sherman and then came here in 1969. They opened their doors and they're still here, and we're very proud of them. Remcor opened in 1969 here. The second to the oldest business in town opened in 1964, and it opened as Howe State Bank. And now known as Independent Bank, Beth Harville is here to represent Independent Bank. And then the oldest business in town that is still active started in 1963 by a man named Pop Sloan. and then was taken over in 1966 by Bob Walker, who was being honored tonight. It went through another family's hands and was owned by the Rideout family for 38 years. Accepting this honor on behalf of the Howe Enterprise of the Rideout family, Dale and Lance, come on. That's a good picture here. Okay, now we'll move on into the awards. And these were put out to the public on an online voting situation. And we had nearly 200 respondents for the Howe Hall of Honor and these business awards. So we will first start out with our Volunteer Organization of the Year. And the nominees, first of all, let me tell you, Mr. Shepard back there said for many years it was so hard to get anyone to volunteer in this town. And thankfully, recently, we've been able to accomplish some of that. We've been able to get volunteers for things. And we're going to recognize 3 tonight, but there's some others that aren't on this list. The Save the Church Committee is a group of a lot of volunteers, and they have done a remarkable job. They were not nominated, but they should have been. But all of these organizations are worthy, and I'm very proud that we've been able to get to a situation where we can recognize and honor volunteer organizations. It's a great thing to do. So the very first nominee is Feed My Sheep. And Carolyn Cherry was unable to be here tonight. They started a group, actually Pastor Landis might be able to fill us in on some of this, but they started a group, a food pantry, and were able to feed a lot of families in town. So that's a great organization. And then we have the Howe Volunteer Fire Department. And we all know about them, and Robert, and what a great job they do. And then our third nominee was Keep Howe Beautiful. And that's an organization that started back in 2014, and they've really come on board to do some great things in Howe with the beautification projects. And Kurt, do you want to say anything about Keep Howe Beautiful? No? Well, let's give this award. Leandra, you want to come up and give this award? Do we need a drum roll?
Who's a good drum roller? And the very deserving winner is Feed My Sheep.
Congratulations.
Only been here 5 months.
I know, right? Our next category is New Business of the Year, and this is what we're really proud of, those new businesses. Keep them coming. The first nominee is Polio's Pizza Cafe. Mo is working tonight. He's actually behind the counter, so he's unable to be here. Our second nominee is Skinner Plumbing Supply. You want to come on up and say a little bit about your business? I think you should. Here they go. Skinner Plumbing Supply.
Hi everyone, I'm Julie Skinner. This is my husband Jay. We're really glad to be in Howe, right down the street. We offer plumbing supplies for the homeowner all the way to the commercial plumber. So anything that you might need, and also we've got the best master plumber in the whole Grayson County and everywhere. So any of your plumbing needs, we can handle anything. So we're glad to be here.
The next nominee for New Business of the Year, Stark Lane Farms.
this is my wife Allison. Many of you, we've met, in passing. We've been here 3 years, and regardless of the outcome tonight, I do want to share one thing. I grew up in a town with 1,700 people, and it was nothing like this. I mean, if the words grace and hospitality, that's two things I would have never expected when we moved. But everyone we've met has been so welcoming here in Howe. And Allison, my beautiful wife, starting her shop, right down the road. Everyone we've met, they've been great. It's been a pleasure. It's not a business. It's almost like a hobby. So we've had a great time. Allison is, doing what she does, which is...
Right. This is a dream of mine. I've always wanted to do this. I went to school for consumer science and retail, and I got my bachelor's degree, and this is just something I've always wanted to do. And I've had incredible support and customer loyalty, and I have an awesome employee back there with Michelle. She's fantastic, and I couldn't do it without the support of my husband and my daughter and all of the great customers that I have coming into the store. So I just really appreciate it.
Hey, by the way, I will call Jackie Skinner. He saved my bacon twice already.
And since this is the new business of the year, I'm going to go ahead and announce the winner here. These are my favorite. And these were voted on by the public, by the way. The new business of the year is Starkling Farms. Leandra, you want to do the business of the year?
We have 3 nominees. Can y'all hear me? Is it on? There you go. We have 3 nominees for Business of the Year. The first one, you don't have to go too far, it's right across the street, Abby's Restaurant. And anyone here from Abby's? She's working. All right. The second Business of the Year nominee is Howe Enterprise.
Somebody's here. I will speak just a little bit about the Howe Enterprise, because what a blessing it is to be able to serve the community in the way that we're able to do. I tell my kids all the time, whatever you're passionate about, whatever you love, find a way to do it for a living, because it's so much fun. You don't really work. So it's a blessing to be able to do this. The way it all came about was a blessing. And I really give a lot of thanks to Dale and Lana for allowing me to continue to do this, and I really appreciate it. And it's been a lot of fun. So, you're up.
And the third nominee for Business of the Year is Starkling Farms. Kennedy is going to give you the drum roll winner.
And the winner of the Business of the Year is the Howe Enterprise.
Online voting, I will admit I did vote for the Howe Enterprise on this one. There's no shame, right? Okay. Cheryl, do you want to do this one? Or actually, Robert, and then Cheryl will announce. How about that? This is for the Citizen of the Year, right?
Correct. All right, it's now time to recognize our Norma J. Wallace Citizen of the Year Award. Before announcing our nominees, I would like to give a little history of Norma J. Wallace and what this recognition really encompasses. Norma Jean Wallace was born on April 21st, 1929, to Gladys McKinney Davis and Custer Violet Davis. In 1938, the family moved to Howe, Texas, from St. Joe, Texas. Over the years, Norma developed a special love for Howe, its residents, and its values. Norma's main focuses and items she lived by were faith, family, and community. These three aspects were really what shaped Norma's character and led her to become one of the most recognized and respectable members of our community. Norma's faith was her guide through life. Her faith was supported within the Howe United Methodist Church as well as the interfaith community of Howe. Through her beliefs, she was able to lead by example with dignity, respect, and strong conviction. Norma's family was extended not only to her relatives, but to each member of the community. Through the good times and the bad, the community supported Norma, and she supported the community in all aspects of life. And they really were like family to her. Norma was also an active contributor to her community, in which she made many long-lasting and influential impacts. She was actively involved in the creation of the Howe Public Library, the Howe Historical Society, the creation of the marching band, and the designation of the Hall Cemetery as a Texas historical landmark. She was also active in promoting safety in Howe. There was actually an on-ramp that she recognized as being an unsafe, or maybe a safety hazard rather, that she silently petitioned to have moved. And through her efforts, she had that on-ramp on 75 moved, and it really resulted in a safer roadway. So in total, Norma lived in Howe for 57 years until her death. When she passed, a faded newspaper clipping was found in her purse, and it read, "Thank God every morning when you get up you have something to do which must be done whether you like it or not. Being forced to work and forced to do your best will breed in you temperance, self-control, diligence, strength of will, contentment, and 100 other virtues which the idle will never know." Norma truly did live by these words, and even more than ever, these words still ring true today. As you can see, Norma's contributions and character have had a long-lasting and positive impact on our community. And this is why we've chosen to honor one individual each year whose contributions have had a long-lasting and positive effect. Through a vote of our citizens, our three nominees for the Norma J. Wallace Citizen of the Year Award are Jonathan Coleman, Gene Norman, and Monty Walker. And before announcing our final nomination, I do want to point out that these three individuals have all made a huge impact on our community. And no matter the winner tonight, their accomplishments really deserve recognition and will be just a very long-lasting contribution to our town. And let's see, I think Cheryl, would you like to announce?
I'm excited to announce it's Monty Walker.
This looks a little fishy. Well, thanks. I said I voted for the Howe Enterprise, but I actually voted for Donna Wormsbecker on this one. There's so many I could have voted for, and everybody. There's so many leaders, and just to be mentioned in the same breath with Norma Wallace, that's quite an honor. So thank you all. I really appreciate that. And if I can weed through Robert's notes here, I will move on. And we will move towards the Hall of Honor induction process. And you may have to bear with me on this first one. I kind of like him a little bit. The first Hall of Honor inductee is Bob Walker. He's a first-time nominee, most known for operating the Howe Enterprise News for 421 consecutive weeks from 1966 to 1974. 421 consecutive weeks without a vacation. That's pretty good. But that's nothing compared to what Dale and Lana did. He was instrumental in reforming the Howe Chamber of Commerce back in 1972. He served as the chairman of the Howe Centennial Committee that year, and he was elected to the Howe Chamber of Commerce as the president in the 1970s, which ran at its full peak of operation at that time. But Mr. Kennedy, you see what happens when you get that chamber running full operation. You get, inducted and stuff. Mr. Walker also served on the Planning and Zoning Commission of Howe, and after selling the Howe enterprise, he went on to own and operate Allied Office Supply across the street where Abby's is. And he did that for a number of years. And accepting the honor for Bob Walker is his grandson, Michael Belden. He got all the hype.
Thank you. It's good to be here in front of everybody tonight. In true Bob Walker fashion, I wrote a few notes while I was on a napkin while I was eating at Taco Bueno this afternoon. I thought about having some coffee, but it was not 100 degrees outside, and that's when he really liked to drink his coffee. Some people, sorry, I've had allergies this week. In some law committees and conventions, some people say everything I learned was from baseball and the Godfather movies. There's a lot of life lessons in both, and everything I learned in life, or a lot of it, was from baseball and the Godfather movies and Bob Walker. If you knew him, he was a very interesting character, and a lot of you read his editorials to the newspaper. He was very cynical about government. When I worked for Ralph Hall in Washington, D.C., he was extra scared that I would go into full-time politics. I know there's people here in political offices, but he was just growing up in the Depression. He was very skeptical, so instead I became a criminal defense attorney, which is good because I get to, skepticism and cynicism is pretty good for what I do, and I share his to a large degree. But one of my favorite quotes from the Godfather movies is, "A man who doesn't spend enough time with his family can never be a real man." And when I think of Bob Walker, and a lot of you know, he was one of the best family men there ever could have been. And everybody's seen both sides of my family and how, and the Walker side is very close-knit. We have very large family events. When they happened around Bob Walker. Cousins. To try to get 3 or 4 buildings in a room takes an act of Congress. I've tried to make it happen, but to get some 20 Walkers in a room just takes one AOL instant message, and that's all because of Bob Walker and what he grew up with. He grew up with in the Depression. His father was not the father, according to family history, that he wanted, and he did everything he could to make sure that his kids had the best parenting and the best attention that they could get. And it's kind of spoiled me because I haven't felt the need to have my own immediate family outside of my parents, because I have such a close-knit family and support that all goes back to him. If you knew, we called him Papa, but Bob Walker, he was known for his frugality. He said he was so tight that he squeaked when he walked down the street. If he found a penny, it was somebody lost a day's interest. And some people tell me I'm pretty cheap, and that's kind of my reputation around town, but to the extent that wasn't how I was in high school. I burned through money like my nephews do now, but I went to college. Bob helped me get through college. I went to law school, and he really helped me get through law school because I lived in college on a dorm with no responsibility for 4 years, and when I went out and hit the real world, it was a lot more expensive than I anticipated. The real world, to the extent that law school is the real world, and then fortunately I learned a lot of lessons from him. So it's a big honor to be here. I don't want to take up much more of your time, but he was just one of the greatest men there could have been, and it's an honor to get this award, especially in such company.
I will follow up with just a few things. Do you want this mic? Here, Mike. I'll follow up with a few things and try to get through it. Since him, we've had a really unique opportunity to have really good dads in our family. And there's another one right there. So, yes, he met JFK, he met LBJ, but he was most proud of meeting Bob Wills. And he would say that, how did you know if you were rich or poor? He said, we were poor because, he said, when I got to school and I was the only one without shoes, I knew that we were poor. So, but that taught him a lot about, how to deal with money. And he was very frugal. And he said one time, if it cost a nickel to poop, I had to fart. That's just who he was. But there's so many of those. But he was such a good man, and he was a great role model for our family. And we just try to continue that, and we try to be that parent for our kids. There is a saying, when you teach your son, you teach your son's son. And we hold that very dear. So let's move on to the next Hall of Honor induction. And that would be a man that's very dear to my heart, J.J. Chisholm. He is nominated for the second time, for the second straight year, and was perhaps the most loved man, as the mayor mentioned, in all of this community. From the time he opened Chisholm's one-stop grocery store in 1957, he was called the one-man Chamber of Commerce. There was no Chamber of Commerce at the time. He was it. He would tell everybody where to go, everybody's phone number. This is how you get there. Mr. Chisholm often ran open tickets for families, knowing very well that they would never be able to pay him. And his response was always that he couldn't stand to see anyone not have food on their table. Mr. Chisholm was the Norman J. Wallace Citizen of the Year in 1985. And here to accept the honor is his granddaughter, Kim Chisholm Gentry.
Hi, Howe. Howe. Are we on? Yeah. So good to see everybody tonight, and I'm so happy to be here. I'm just gonna, I've got a few notes, so bear with me, and I'm just gonna go over a day in the life, the day in the life of James Jackson Chisholm. He was married to my grandmother, Lorna Laverne Baxter Chisholm, and in 1969, they took on 2 kids, me and my brother. He was 59, and she was 55, my age. So I'm just going to go through his daily routine. In the morning, you would hear this pop, pop, pop. This noise would be him doing his morning exercises in the downstairs hallway. I don't know if the pop was from the floor or his back. I'm thinking it was a combination. His next step would be to shave and dress for a long day. Next, he would mosey to the kitchen. This is my favorite part. He would mosey to the kitchen, collect a cereal bowl, a spoon, 2 types of cereal, 1 fibered, 1 sweet, probably Frosted Flakes or Cap'n Crunch. And just when you think he couldn't carry anything else, he would scoop up his Bible from atop the dishwasher, tuck it under his arm. He'd sit down. He'd get back up, because then he'd have to go find the sweet that was in the kitchen, whether it be a piece of cake, a chocolate chip cookie, and then he would put that on top of his cereal. Like I said, he had a long day ahead. He had to get through many hours. After breakfast, he would He would brew and deliver Gran her tea in bed and place a goodbye kiss on her forehead. Lastly, he would venture outside, select and cut a handful of fresh blooms from the rose garden, lay them on the table, awaiting for the expert to come and create the arrangement. The store would open usually, I think, by 7:30 if I remember right. I remember asking him, why do you open the store so early? And his reply, because the school kids might need a pop, or lunch, or paper, or a parent might need something, and he must be there. He must be open. Then next would come the lunch run. If some of you remember the sandwiches, ham and cheese, bologna and cheese, cheese and cheese, or even for a select few, liverwurst. Then would come the afternoon. He would head toward the back of the store while whistling Amazing Grace, Rock of Ages, or Just As I Am. Next you could hear the tinkling of glass as he sorted empty Coke bottles, tons and tons of empty Coke bottles. Next he would venture toward the front of the store, and then sit behind the counter to do a little bookwork. Some of you know that might have come in while he was doing his bookwork. It looked more like a power nap. Then the evening rush would come, after the bank hours. He would cash payroll checks, process the light and the gas bills and the phone bills. People would come in and pay. Then he would prepare the deposits for the day. Around 7 or 8 p.m., we would receive the call at home. Quick, hurry, hurry. Go look at the beautiful sunset. Click, you hang up the phone. So it's because of him that I love the sunsets, the Texas sunsets. I miss them. So the phone would hang up. Then the phone would ring again. Oops, forgot to ask. You need anything? Milk, tea, ground round? Then we'd say, when are you coming home? His reply would be, just a little longer. So-and-so called and needs some cattle feed, so I got to stay open. Or I need to go by Mrs. So-and-so's house to deliver a loaf of bread and a bag of ice. When I was scheduled to help close in the evenings, he would put the padlock on the door, then he would say, let's race. So we would gather outside the front door, and he would give me like a concrete square head start. He would beat me every time. He was a true track star in his day, a true athlete. These are just a few of the fond memories that I have to share. He took great pride in serving his community, that in return served him and his family. He always gave what he wanted to receive. Sorry. His response in receiving the wall of honor would be, I didn't do anything special. And then after he thought a while, he would just say, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We're truly honored. Thank you very much.
As a young boy, I grew up on Duke Street. And boy, if you grew up on that street, you were really lucky, because Mr. Chisholm was 2 doors down. Charles Thompson was up the street. Harold Taylor, the postmaster, was up the street. My next door neighbor was Janie's dad, and he'll be in the Hall of Honor next year probably. And Coy Poole lived across the street. They were Citizens of the Year. You know, I literally would walk from the end of the street and back and come home with change in my pocket and apples and bananas. I mean, there's good people on this street. But Mr. Chisholm made it a huge impact to me too, as he did almost everybody. He's really the first guy that would treat a young boy like a man. He opened credit tabs for us. And it's dangerous. You know, I'm 10 years old and I'm walking home from school, and every day, 3 doors down, Mr. Chisholm's You get a Coke, candy bar, and 5-year-old package of Topps baseball cards. And a lot of times I'd have to nudge him, wake up. He'd write my name down. And on Thursday, he'd always say, Monty, you need to come pay me tomorrow. You owe me $5. Okay. So Friday, I'd walk over to Pat Ball's. You get $5 out of the cigar box and go pay Mr. Chisholm. But, to treat, that, it helps teach young kids responsibility. And that was very important. And there's so much about that man that I love. And now, somebody else that I love. We will honor and recognize Jean Norman, nominated for the 2nd straight year. She will go down in Howe history much of the same regards as Mame Roberts and Norma Wallace. A true iconic figure among all Howe's finest ladies. Her fingerprints of leadership are seen throughout the community from Bonham to Dorchester, and especially from Ponderosa to Farmington. She was instrumental in forming the Howe Public Library and eventually the Howe Community Library. Her leadership helped breathe life into the former First Christian Church, not once, but twice. Norman was a key member of the foundation and the formation of the Howe Historical Society in the 1980s and 90s, and renovated the church previously the House and Museum. Serving most recently as president of Save the Church organization, the group has raised enough money to transform one of Howe's oldest structures into a beautiful wedding venue and event center. The longtime school teacher has also been a longtime member and church leader at First Baptist Church of Howe. She was named the 1992 Norma J. Wallace Citizen of the Year, and 25 years later was nominated again for the award. Ladies and gentlemen, Jean Norman.
I love this guy too. Thank you.
Do you need to take that?
Thank you.
I'll give that to Pete or Alton.
Okay, all right. I wanted to share with you tonight just some things about my life and what I've done in Howe and how wonderful it's been. And thank you all for coming out tonight. It's just really a wonderful time to come together and honor Howe. To celebrate Howe is certainly a great joy and an honor to be inducted into the Howe Hall of Fame and to be in the company of those that have been mentioned tonight that strive so hard to make Howe special. And it's just a delightful time to be here tonight. And I'm so glad to have my husband, Alton, with me now. Some of you may not know, but I call him Pete. When I met him in college, I thought his name was Pete. So all these years I've had to do both names. And also tonight, my twin sister, Dean Ransell, is here from Texarkana. And then I have my son, Jay Norman, and his wife, Jessie. My daughter, Kelly. Her husband, Jamie, couldn't be here tonight. Hey, and there's Carrie. She made it in back there. And my son-in-law, Scott. So glad that y'all made it here. We do have 9 grandchildren. 1 in college at Fayetteville. And there's 8 at our house that the 15 and 16-year-old son are babysitting. So I hope my house is standing here tonight. We'll see about that. Dee and I were born in Bonham, Texas, a town we always loved and have taken great joy being a part of. We've never missed a high school reunion in 50-something years, so we've loved that part of it. And our mother and dad, Red and Catherine Pope, they were great parents, just like Monty's, and they talked about tonight, the wonderful, wonderful Kim. That was so sweet. Your granddaddy was such a precious man. So Dean and I had a lot of fun being twins. We dressed alike. We were seniors in college, had every class from grade 1 through college. We majored in home economics and minored in music, and we sang in a trio through all of high school and college and loved every minute of it. Pete and I got married in 1964, and I taught 3 years at Sherman High School. And then I didn't work again for 25 years. And during that time, living in Howe and moving out to the country of Dorchester, it was just a great place to raise our children. And we have enjoyed our church, the First Baptist. Pete has served as a deacon there for many years, and I taught Sunday school for over 30 years, so it's been a great part of our life. But we love the atmosphere of Howe. We love the school spirit. I tell you, from cheerleaders to a football player, we did it all, and we loved it. I never taught in the school. A lot of people thought I was part of the school. I guess I was up there a lot. Mr. Killstrap, I saw you a lot of times. But Carlene and I, Monty's mother, we love to be spirit makers. I drew a lot of run-throughs for the football team. Carlene was the greatest paw print dry drawer you've ever seen. And we were cheerleaders for the football team. And one time the coaches asked me to do a pep rally, district playoff basketball pep talk. And my son Chase said, Mother, don't talk about basketball and how to play it, because you don't know. Thank you, son. He said, just stick with the spirit. I could do spirit. Yeah, me and Steve Simmons, we can do spirit. But I said, okay, and so I did. One day in 1981, a gentleman named Mr. James Ferguson, in fact, one of the other Hall of Honors, A.M. Ferguson is his father, knocked on my front door. And he was looking for someone to start a library in Howe. He'd given over 15,000 volumes to the city of Howe, and no one had done anything. And he went to the bank to ask somebody, what could he do, who could he call? And they said, go see Gene Norman. Well, he knocked on my door, and I let him in because he was 70 plus. And then he happened to be the brother of one of my dear friends in Bonham. So he shared with me his vision that day and what he wanted done and what he wanted to happen. And I called some people that afternoon and formed a committee, and we started working on the Howe Public Library. And oh my goodness, 35 years later, I cannot believe I am still setting up meetings for the Howe Library and serving on the boards, and still loving every minute of it. But we had wrestling matches. I have never worked so hard in my life setting up chairs at the football field. But we got to have the Von Erichs. It was really fun. We brought Louise Mandrell to Sherman, and that was quite exciting. We had bike rallies. I painted arrows all over this part of the country. And so many things that we did. Bake sales. Oh my goodness, bake sales. You name it, we did it. And I set off in the first 10 years of my life. Every day I spent doing something for the library. But it has been a great success and such a joy. And Leander, I have checked my mailbox for the Friends every week for 35 years, and all I want is the bank statement. So there you go. I was getting ready to borrow quite a bit of money to build a building. We had, when we started, a little house that we got and redid and worked so hard. But I was going to build something better. And about that time, the superintendent, Pete Simmons at that time, called me in and he said, Gene, you know, I've been reading where they're joining the schools with public libraries with the city. I said, oh, let's do it. And we did, and it's been very successful. We could never have afforded a master's degree librarian, which the city and the school make possible. The school does carry most of our budget with salaries and so forth, but the city has always been a great help to us too. But Linda Wall and Marion Allison and I, in our first library with the school, we put together all of the bookcases. That was quite hard too, but we made it. And it was over in the old band hall where we first started. So in about 1986 is when we joined with the school, and it became the Howe Community Library. And my children and some of the Howe Pee Wee cheerleaders in the old building helped me unpack all those 15,000 books, and lots of help. People of Howe have always been willing to help. And with those Pee Wee cheerleaders, and those kids could remember the musty smell of those boxes even today. They were telling me that, we were talking about it. But we did get all those books on the shelves, and Walt Snyder was great in helping us do that. And so many names that I can't call of them, but all of them, but it was wonderful. But people that came out and helped us to finish up and really get it going. And in our library today, our superintendent, Kevin Wilson, and our city manager, Joe Shepard, have really been great The city has been really supportive. Our past superintendents and also past city managers have always worked with us in things that we've done. And in 2001, the Howe ISD redid the old Ag building and made us a wonderful place for our library. Now we have over 20,000 volumes. We serve the community and the area. We have so many wonderful programs. Make computers available to people that come in every day. That's their only computer use. And just great strides in automation and innovative things that go on in our library. And I was so excited. I've been in a sorority in Sherman and Howe ladies for 50 years. And we disbanded this year from our international affiliation with Epsilon Sigma Alpha. We're still going to meet some, but for 50 years we have raised money and given it away throughout this area. And when we disbanded, we had still $6,000 in our budget. And I was so thrilled when they voted to give the library $1,000 of that. I thought that was just wonderful, in honor really of our Howe ladies that have been a part of this wonderful group for 50 years. And we started young. Carrie was the first baby in our sorority, and time has flown by. In 1992, I was serving on the board for the Sherman ISD. I was on the at-risk program, working with them for at-risk kids, and they called me one day and said, "Gee, Norman, we got a job for you." And I said, "What?" They said, "We want you to go back to teaching." I said, "I haven't worked in 25 years. But our daughter Carrie had lived at home a year and had begun teaching at Van Alstyne. And listening to her and some of her phrases about education, I got through the interview some way on the telephone. Well, I taught home economics in that at-risk school. I worked 9 years. I had to develop all the curriculum for the home economics electives and all the sciences, but I loved every minute of it. I loved the kids, and I still hug them everywhere today. It was a challenge, and I quit in 2001, but somehow, even 9 years of working, my principal was a retired coach. He still let me go sing at funerals and do book reviews during school sometimes. He was a great friend, a great help. But I never gave up my Howe commitments and my involvement in our community. And then finally, before I begun teaching in '92, we had formed the Howe Historical Society, and we were trying to save one of the oldest houses in Howe, but we didn't. They tore it down, made us sick. And so we focused on this old Christian church. And we got real excited about what we could do to make that thing beautiful again. And JC and Carrie Waller had a garage sale in there for several years, raised several $1,000s with things that Howe citizens had offered and brought to be sold. And we wanted to make it a museum, but in 2007 we ran out of energy, we ran out of money to redo the interior. It was in a terrible state. I was old, but my committee was older. So it was time to hang it up. But we got real lucky and well, fast forward 10 years to about 2015 or right in there. Monty Walker comes to Howe and joins the city. And that, I think, is one of the greatest things that has happened to Howe. We got someone here that loves us and wants to make our city the greatest. And also Georgia Caraway moved in with her wonderful store, her wonderful spirit, and she loves old churches, so we're so lucky. The committee that we have is a group of wonderful people and that work so hard, but they're still the First United Methodist Church Great Days of Service. Came in, painted what needed to be painted there, covered up windows, mowed the grass, cleaned up, and we got excited. Monty said, "Let's start working on that church." So I called a group of citizens together again, and we began working on that old church. A man named Boyd Dunn from Dorchester and a Mike Barlow have worked and given their time. Rick Owens and his crew have worked, and many others have offered their help, so we're so grateful. And it's just next door. You need to look at it. You need to see that beautiful walkway and ramp that we've all created, and it looks like it's loved again. There's something really good's going on. Now, we did have some fundraisers, and our first one, my Italian cream cake, went for $750 to Scott and Wendy Renfro. I was embarrassed to death, but they told me, "Gene, it's for the church." I said, "Okay," but I was embarrassed to death. I thought those kids were gonna wake up tomorrow and say, "What we do?" But my son tried to pay half of it because he bid them up, and they said, "You're not getting our cake." So okay. Well, our next auction this past let's see, when was it, Monty? In April. We had another successful fundraiser, and I sold that Italian cream cake again. Well, it went for $850. Wow. My son bought it. And I say thank you, Jay did. He also bought a shotgun, which was great too. But you know what? I appreciated that, Jay. I really did. We all did. It's just been a tremendous effort, and you just, can't thank everyone enough. And also my sorority gave a $1,000 donation to save the church. So that was quite thrilling too. And Joe Shepherd and the City Council have all been great promoters of this, great support. And this is going to be a wonderful asset for our city. We do want to make it a wedding venue, an event center, something that we can all enjoy. Well, yeah, I've been pretty busy, but I got to tell you, one of the greatest things that I loved doing for 40 years was singing and entertaining in this North Texas area. From the 70s to 2005, I did programs, I did book reviews and sang. I sang at a lot of weddings, funerals, rest homes. I loved to entertain there. And I really appreciated the Lord using me and letting me do all that. Dean and I had great fun singing growing up. I never dreamed I'd be a soloist because I was just a little old alto. But when you say, "Lord, use me," He will. And so it was just great. And also in these last couple of years, I've been in the Red Hat Society. I am the Queen Mother. I just want y'all to know I try to eat places Alvin is not going to be. I will also tell you that we've lost the red hats, but we still wear purple. But it's just a group of women from Howe and Austin, Tioga, and we just get together and eat and meet and have fun. But I want to thank my husband especially for letting me go and do all these things and supporting me and my kids. It's just been great. Even in a lot of stuff I've done, I don't think I ever missed an activity they were in, and now we're chasing after grandchildren. So I really appreciate that. And my love and my appreciation to all the wonderful people of Howe, because there's always been those that have extended their hands to help me, and there have been many. Thank you so much for this honor.
We started that Save the Church again, and I had this crazy concoction, and I remember Alton said, "Don't get her involved with that church again."
But he's on my committee now.
The next Hall of Honor member, I have the same kind of sentiments as the mayor about Mr. Gilstrap. Now, I never had the paddle, but I was in the office several times. And if you ever got that, boy, you knew you were in trouble. Donald Gilstrap, first-time nominee, was most known for his position as Howe High School principal during 3 different decades. While also serving as elementary and middle school principal, it was his gentle yet stern approach to leadership that won the respect among students and peers. Gilstrap grew up picking cotton in the 1940s and was not able to attend school until all that cotton was picked, which was usually in November. His mother had a 6th grade education and his father received no education at all. But he was a very, very hard worker. And strength was a family trait, as Gilstrap used his ability in football to earn a college degree at Hardin-Simmons University. Post-college, he spent 4 years in the Army, including a free vacation to Korea. While stationed at Lawton, Oklahoma, he met the love of his life, Barbara, whom he married in 1959. Together they had 2 children, Catherine and Patrick. He was recruited by 6 school board members who drove to Lubbock to bring him to Howe. Think about that. These school board members drove out there to get him. That's pretty impressive. Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Gilstrap. I've always wanted to do this. He doesn't walk.
When you came up, I looked around to see Barbara was back behind the piano. I used to spend a lot of time hearing Dean sing, with Barbara leading, playing the piano, and a cat.
The cat me out during my recording.
Had a cat, and Barbara came out, and Jean came over, and the cat was in the front room, and she made a tape of her singing a religious song, and nobody noticed it, or that I didn't think it did. And that cat would come in every once in a while and just meow, and he would record it, and she kept the tape for everybody to see. 6 men came to West Texas. First of all, let me make a couple of corrections. Randy, the first thing is that it's called the Hall of Honor, not the House of Horror. The second factor is that this is not a ball and chain. It does not have an exploding device. If I have to try to leave Howe, then it goes off. It's just plain a chain. I can't run very fast with it, but I can't run it all without it. So another factor that is wrong is that I am not on probation from anything. I am innocent for every. The statute of limitations is always expired. So I've been cleared. And I am not assigned to a community hours of labor. I go out and pick up the lambs in the trash in front of my house and down the street if I see them, and I do it simply because it's a habit I learned when I was in high school at Howe. We picked up. This is unusual in the sense that they were talking about something. I came here as an interview for the Howe Independent School District as superintendent. I knew I was not qualified for a superintendency. I told my wife, we'll just go down there and we'll see that little town, see what it's like. Someday I may have to be in a small town like that. She said, okay, so we came in, we came down, I got an interview, and they said, we're sorry, right now we just know that we'll let you know, but we're pretty sure that we've got our superintendent. And that was Glenn Mitchell, and he was a good one. And he saw it, I said, hey, I know him, and he is good. I will not. So I went home, and I was out in my shop working. A couple of days later, evening, it was dark, and all of a sudden, the door opened, my son came in, and he was saying, Dad, there's a whole bunch of men up here hunting you. I couldn't figure out anything I had done wrong, so I was really shook up about it. So I started washing my hands and getting the grease off and go into the house, and they just started falling into the shop. And those 6 men, it seemed like there was 25 or 30. They were on into just a few. And they came in and said, we want to talk with you. And so help me, I couldn't think of anything I'd done wrong the last couple of days, and why they wanted to help me. So they came in and they said, we've got a problem. We want you to come work for us. And I thought, thought, well, I haven't pulled bowls in a long time, and I didn't think they had cotton down there in Howe. And so I did, I said, okay. And it boiled down to the fact that they decided that when they were talking with me, that they wanted me to be a principal, the high school principal. And I left, I went in, and Barbara said, well, what do they want? And I said, scared the living daylights out of me. I wasn't sure, I didn't know. And they said, they want me to be a high school principal. I didn't tell her that I was going to be, they wanted me to be a high school principal 3 years later, not that night. And so she said, let's go down there and see it. She liked it when she came down to interview, and she said, I think I like that town and I don't want to go back. Why don't we just stay down here? And I said, well, we got to have a house first. And so we did actually end up there, moving there. I spent 1 year in Memphis, Texas. That was my first year of teaching. I was a coach, basketball, baseball, volleyball. I also taught golf. And they told me that when I moved there, that if we had a successful year in any sport, we would get a raise. And I thought, well, hey, this is nice. So I took the year for that year. My team, golf team, I'd never played golf. I had never had anything about it, but I could read. And so I read up all of the golf I could get on. And my team won third in state. Man, I thought, I'm bound to get at least a $100 raise, maybe. And when they got in, they used to give you $75 every time you had a successful year of teaching. They gave me a contract that said I would get $70. So they cut me from $75 to $70 because we won third in state. We won the district in football. Volleyball we didn't do too well in. Basketball, I was not a basketball player. There's no way as short as I am that anybody even considered me for basketball. But I had the best B team in the district. And so I was about that time, I was hunting something else. And so I got a job at Lubbock. 1 year at Memphis, 11 years at Lubbock. I came to Howe, and I got 21 years. And when I came in one night, Barbara said, you're not going to go to another school system. And I said, well, yeah, I got it. And she said, we're going to retire. There's no way you can do 31 years being a high school principal again. But I did get to be the high school principal. And when I finally got to the point where I retired, I used to tell people I graduated in 1993. I got a call the next morning saying, well, you fouled everything up. Yosef said, come go with me. And he asked me to come out to his farm. And I got out there, and they had a tractor for me. And I said, I've never driven one of these tractors. And Jack said, you can drive this one. Said, you got all the boys in school, and it's your job. And so I worked for the Normans for about 9 years, seven to nine, somewhere in there. When you're having a lot of fun, you enjoy it. I honestly think that was the one thing, because I had reached the point where nerves was being shot, everything was going along, I was happy and everything like this, but my kids were getting to the point where they were getting ready to leave home and all that. I was about to lose everything. And so Alton and Jack put me on the tractor. And I said, now, I hate to tell you this, but that last tractor I drove had lug wheels. If you know anything about it, they used to make tractors that they didn't put tires on, they put steel tires. And they had lugs on it. And Jack said, well, this here, put me out in the middle of the field, and I said, well, what happened? And he said, well, if you run into anything, you may get in trouble, just give us a call. It was about 4 years before I ran into the telephone pole. And, it wasn't my fault.
That's what I always told you.
I was going down the pipeline, just perfect straight roads for a great time. Until Alton came along and he said, how long have you been doing rainbows? And I said, no, I'm not really sure. Anybody that knows anything about it, that means you start out and you make a long curve. I thought I was going straight. I would start at one end and I'd get to the other end of the field and I'd be way over a little bit where my curve would be going. And I watched it, he watched me on it, he said, well, I said, it'll iron out because we'll get it when we plow. So they taught me how to drive a regular tractor. And the last time I went by there and saw what they were doing, what they're driving now, I sure am glad I quit the farming business when I did. The one they have now, they just whistle in the thing. Man, at least I had to guide it, I had to look, and my telephone pole, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't my fault. Still proved it was not. But driving, but they hadn't told me that tractors do unusual things. I drive along on the side of the hill, and it was kind of good at night, so I had to really watch it to make sure the roads were going straight. Nobody around, and then they had it all by myself. I was enjoying it. Nobody to boss me, nobody to yell at me. And Alton wouldn't call me and say, are you about through at that field? And he would always do it the last row around. He knew, and I said, how in the world do you know that it's time for me to go to another field? And he said, think how many times I've been pulled out of that field since I was 7 years old. It made me feel real good with all my farming experience. But anyway, I was going along, and they had told me that if the wheel of a tractor in the present day would hit a ditch, it would kick out of your hand, and it would go over about 4 feet. Just move over. Well, I was going all right, and so I got on, and I was watching, and I was watching the telephone poles, and that ditch hit, and that back end just flipped over. Before I could say anything, I took a 8-foot section out of the middle of the telephone pole. It hit the wheel just perfect. Just the wheel. That was all. It turned the wheel around a little bit, and it wobbled a lot after that. Alton had to work on it for 2 days just to get it in the barn and out of the barn. But I got it stopped, and I thought, well, I can't drive it anymore. And I got off, and I got to the telephone, and I said, I've hit a telephone pole. He said, can you move the tractor? And I said, yeah. And he said, does it wobble? And I said, yeah. And he said, can it be driven? And I said, I think I can. He said, well, why don't you just take it to the barn, and you can go home today, and I'll fix it up and have it ready for you tomorrow. I wasn't sure that I was going to get fired from my first day of job of driving a tractor, but they forgave me that. He fixed it, he quit rolling, and he finally did say, we didn't tell you that you don't drive into a little gully and it'll get out of the way from road. I called Alton quite frequently, so he said, Alton, what do I do here? And he said something, I said, I've got him stuck. And he said, I'll be over. He drove over and he walked down and looked at the field, and I said, I got it out there, and I'm afraid how to get it out. And he said, well, we do this. He got out of there, and that thing, it was just like a horse that was ready to go. he crawled up into it, and he started slipping and sliding and all that thing, and they was going throwing mud whichever way, and he got out of the field. And he said, you have to try these things. And I said, just get it out. That's when I found that farmers, you go out, they say plow a field, you plow it. I don't care where it put it, upside down on the side of the hill, in the middle of a lake, you plow it. And I retired from plowing. Go ahead. I retired from plowing, and I found that my health increased about 100%. I had a lady ask me a little bit later, she came by, and I was standing out waiting on Barbara to come by after her walk at the mall. And she said, Mr. Gee, what have you done? And I said, I haven't done anything. I just don't do nothing. And she said, but you look like you're 10 years younger than you did last year, 2 years ago. And I said, I've been farming for about 7 years. And I didn't know that you could have a difference in the farming and being a school teacher. I love every minute of it, and I couldn't have left Howe if I had wanted to. Bill Hindman was a preacher at Howe before he moved to Lubbock. When he moved to Lubbock, we happened to move into his church. And so he was the only person that I knew that knew anything about Howe. And he told me, in all honesty, and then he said, Don, if you go to Howe, no matter what you go as, you will want to stay there forever. And I walked out, those people, 6 men left the house that night. I went in and I talked with Barbara. She had been down here. She was born or raised in Madill, and she was an Okie from way back. And she said, I love that community. I love that town. And she said, what do they want? And I said, they want to hire me. She said, as a superintendent? And it was, and I'm not even, she was 60. She thought that I could be a superintendent. And so she said, the boys, boy and girl, said, the kids and I, we're going to stay in Howe. You can come back to Lubbock if you want to, but we're staying in Howe. And I said, I haven't even taken the job, so I don't know. But I did take the job. Thank you. It takes a while to get the legs started. It takes a while to get them stopped. You gotta have just one hand.
A lot of people don't know this. Mr. Gilstrap saved many of young men from serious trouble. Serious trouble. He really helped out a lot of kids that otherwise, these days would have really been in trouble. And he did a great job. I know a lot of them that owe him a lot. And I really appreciate everyone for being here tonight. What a great night it's been. Looking back on all of these great memories, Gene Norman, Mr. Chisholm, to Papal, to Mr. Gilstrap. What a great night it's been. I just want to thank you all for being here. Thank you from the Chamber of Commerce. Please help yourself with some Mama Susie's cookies and all that stuff that she's got. I hope you've had a great evening tonight, and stick around and fellowship and let's have some fun. Thank you guys.
Yeah, well, I do y'all too. I go, well, there's hot pockets, and I get it. With Mama Jeans, I think all the rides from the football field to the, actually from the Crossroads cafeteria to the football field, home. My parents left me alone. Yeah.
Indiana.
Yes, ma'am.
I thought she favored me. I wanted to win the
77. Now he's in Florida. And they swung him very well. So let's see.
My mama did? Okay. Is Ranch Estates, that's not Castleman, is it? That's up north? Okay. It's up, is it in Sherman technically, or is it in House? Is it their old house with the well in the front of it? Yeah, I know. We actually drove by that house 2 weeks ago. I get that a lot. Yeah. I definitely will.
You know,
The Norman family, we're taking photos. Norman family.
you must summon. You too. Okay. I don't know what to believe. Look at your picture, babe.
Walker family, we'll be taking pictures up here. Walker family, come up front. Walker family.
those that's with Harold and I were back in our younger days.
I love the motorcycle shop. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the ones on the nails where they're hugging?
Yes.
Yeah.